Welcome to A Tale of Two Scribes. I'm your host, Eric P. Bishop. This is a podcast where interesting people come and tell about the stories they've crafted. As for myself, I'm an author. I've created novels, short stories, novellas, and even poetry. If you'd like to find out more about what I've done, please go to my website, ericpbishop.com. Thanks, and enjoy the journey. Welcome to another episode of A Tale of Two Scribes. Tonight, I am pleased to have Travis Davis with us. Travis is a veteran, an author, a podcast host, and according to his wife, Travis has never met a stranger. So we got to
Nope.
dive into that at some point.
I
There's got to be a few strangers out there, Travis,
don't think so. I
especially
don't know.
especially in this world. You need to spend some more time on social media, apparently. No. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. I think last time we probably chatted electronically like this was probably on your when I was a guest on your
Hmm.
podcast. So, congratulations on keeping the episodes going and bringing on engaging guests. So that's
Thank you.
how has it been for you? Let's start talking about that. How has the podcast experience been for you?
It's been interesting. I've learned just a ton
Hmm.
of, just information about the writers, but their how they write,
Yeah.
where they get their inspiration. A lot we talk about marketing because I think that's a crucial piece of the book. A book has to be a business. Each book is a business. You need to have
Hmm.
a business plan.
Yeah.
So, and you have to, modify, execute. It's a little work, but I enjoy doing it because I think I want to be able to give back to the community. The community's giving back to me, and I can't thank you enough for helping me to launch my new upcoming book and the advice and the instructions and just the camaraderie you've given me. So I really, there's no way I could have done it without you. So I really
Well,
want to thank you.
thank you. And I think I've said this to you before. Other people have done the same thing for me. And to me, it's a privilege to be able to give it back to someone else and
That's so cool.
continue.
That's what's so cool about the writing community.
Yeah,
There,
100%.
there's no, I mean, I haven't met them, and I would probably tell them if they seemed a little uppity. Um, but everybody is very down to earth, willing to help. Again,
Yeah,
I'm not stealing your readers. You're not stealing my readers. Readers read
right.
more than one book. They read more than one genre.
Yep.
So I think it's just very very cool to be able to have that. And that's one reason why I started the podcast because I didn't know what I was doing 2 years ago when I started
Hmm.
writing. So what a better way to learn is from people that have done it. And
Yeah.
then in turn, people that want to do it and thought about doing it, or even maybe doing it, we could give that little nugget of information to be able to make them a better writer,
Hmm.
more profitable,
Yep.
whatever it takes to be able to, for them to fulfill what they want to be able to do from a artist perspective.
100%. Yeah, I think it's so daunting. And I've talked to so many people over the last several years as I've been writing, and you'll frequently hear someone say, "Yeah, I want to write a book," or
Mhm.
"Yeah, I have an idea." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you explore that?" They're like, "Oh, I don't know where to start." I was like, "It's
Yeah,
really not that complicated. Just
right.
sit down and either take out a piece of pen and a paper or a
Yep,
notepad or notebook,
yep,
or pull out a
yep.
computer and open up Microsoft Word and start typing." But a lot of people can't even get to that first step, and I get it. It's very intimidating to think that you're going to craft something that's hundreds of pages of long if you're going to do a full novel, and then what do I do with that? And I've always
Mhm.
told people, worry about that when you're done with it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and trust me, there's plenty to worry about when you're done
Oh,
with
yeah.
it.
There's a lot to worry about.
But enjoy the ignorance of just writing your
Yeah,
first novel and
yeah.
the joy that comes with putting your words on a paper.
It's amazing when you tell people, "Oh, I'm writing a novel. How many words have you written so far?" I've written 90,000. 90,000 words? I mean, they're
I
like,
know.
I said, yeah, that's a lot of words.
My son
That's a
for
lot.
school a couple times has been like, "Yeah, I got to write, 2,500 words or
Oh, shoot,
5,000
I could do
words of
that in
this
the
and that."
afternoon.
I was like, "Dude, man, that's a 10 to midnight for your dad,
Yeah,
I
that's like simple. What do you need?
Why are you complaining, kid? Come on, this is easy." But
Yeah.
but it's not. It's not. And I know for some people it's a struggle to articulate what they're thinking. And there's so many good resources out there for people to take that. But the simplest thing with the first step is just start writing something. And if
Yep.
it doesn't If it doesn't work or you don't feel comfortable with it, there's no wrong way to do it.
Mm,
There's no wrong answer. It might be unpublishable when you're done. That's highly likely.
right.
But especially in this market and in this thing, there's really, really good authors out there that can't get publishing deals.
Oh, I
So
know. Oh, I talk to them all the time.
I know,
It's
I know
crazy.
it is crazy, and I still try to encourage people though, and and the one thing that I've said for myself too, and I'm open about it, is I have a full-time job. So if I was in the situation where my book sales determined whether I could feed my kids
Hmm.
or pay for my mortgage, my mindset would be a lot different. For me, it's gravy. It's something that I have a job that I'm fortunate with and I'm
Yeah,
blessed. And the writing is something I do on the side that I would love to earn more money on. I'd love to be able to say that was my full-time income, but I don't have to have that. And I don't have to
exactly.
have that to be fulfilled. Um, to me personally, was getting that first book done wasn't the only thing on my writing bucket list,
Hmm.
but it was the one of like, I got to get that one done. And then everything past that, I will change my goals and I'll alter what I'm doing. But man, I got that first step. And to me, that
Yeah.
was such a big accomplishment. It didn't negate what I'm going to do in the future, but
Hmm.
it also gave me a lot of confidence to move forward because once you can get the first book published, whether it's traditionally or self-published,
Right.
once you can get it out there and you start getting reviews and get people buying the book, that to me at least becomes I've never done a drug in my life, but that to me becomes a drug of, oh,
Right.
okay, this gives me the encouragement and the excitement to say, I want to do this again.
Yeah. And you want to make it, you don't want to make the book entertaining. Uh, you got to, set a goal, whether it's words per day or hours per
Hmm.
day or a thought per day, and just keep on getting to it. There's a lot of research involved in it. So that kind of breaks up the monotony of writing.
Right.
There's always, back in the proofreading. But I mean, I just started 2 years ago. My first novel came out August of 2020, 2022,
Okay.
Flames of Deception. And I have my third novel coming out, which I've changed genres. Right, boom.
Hmm.
I went from thriller, suspense, espionage type books into historical fiction, which is going to be released, May 1st.
Right.
So it's, and I'm excited about that. And I think that's a genre that I might stick with, is the
Hmm.
historical fiction, maybe a thriller historical fiction type book, but espionage type thing. I think that's in the time frame around the World War I aspect
Yeah.
of it too.
Well, if it excites you and if it's something that you feel passionate about,
Mm,
more times out of not, that's going to translate into what you write.
yeah,
And then readers will pick up on that. Because if you're writing something just, if you're writing something just for what you think is going to be the next big
yeah.
thing or what you think is going to sell, you might get it right. It's absolutely possible people get it right.
Many people
But
have.
yeah, but also, I don't know, that'd be kind of empty. I'd hate to write,
Yeah,
I couldn't go write a romance novel right now. It would probably be pretty pathetic. And if someone told me, well, you can make $100,000 off
yeah.
this romance novel and you can write it in a month, sure, I see the temptation of saying, oh, I'll try that. But nah, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be
Mm,
passionate. And Fabio, is he
yeah.
still alive? I mean, I don't know if I get him on my cover anymore. So Fabio's not alive. What's the purpose, you know?
I mean, so I was a great point. I was, 50,000 words into my third Team Texarkana series book.
Mhm.
50,000 words. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And I got the idea for one of four and stopped writing it
Wow.
like cold turkey
Yeah.
and started devote 100% of my time to 4-1 because I felt a passion
Hmm.
for the story
Yeah.
and just I felt compelled to write it. And I can't explain that.
Hmm.
Um, I can't explain it. I went through a couple of revisions of how does it start. My son gave me a great uh, something to put in the book. So
Hmm.
part of the story, which is significant. My
Hmm.
wife helped a little bit with, hey, you start the book off, but you didn't really tell what it's about. So okay,
Mm.
so actually moved the postscript to the preface.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, so because you have to find that passion, and I
Yeah.
think readers will see that and read it, and they go, "Oh, this comes from the heart." I mean,
Hmm.
this is deep. This is
Yeah.
not a shallow. It's not a shallow book. It's a very deep book.
No, it's not.
And
It's personal. It's personal,
it
just the
is.
way the majority of the story is coming from someone's diary entries.
Mm,
And I mean, there's really that's talk about writing and what people write. I mean, the
mm,
most personal thing you're probably going to write in your life would be a diary,
yeah,
of what you're feeling and what you're doing. We talked offline that you have a
yeah,
trip. By the time this airs, you'll be on your trip probably, but
yeah,
you have a trip to Europe coming up.
yep.
I journaled my trip to Europe when I was in college, and I've pulled it out a couple times and like flipped through and read it, and it was pretty
Mm,
detailed. I even read a few little snippets to my kids a while back, and
mhm.
it brought me back some of those
Oh
emotions,
yeah.
some of those things I was feeling, and I haven't journaled much in my life, but I'm glad I did for that trip. It was a 3 week. It was between my freshman and sophomore year of college. I took
Mhm.
what was called a Reformation history tour. So it followed kind of the Reformation
Martin Luther.
religious movement, basically. But it was more than just that. We followed
Hmm.
that, but we started in Rome, so we started
Hmm.
really at the heart of Catholicism, and then we moved all our way up to up through Italy into Germany, or Switzerland, Austria, Germany, France, and England. So it was this 3 week tour that I might have told it on other podcasts. I know
Hmm.
I've told to people as I was on the trip, I realized I had the kind of the wherewithal to realize it's probably going to be the greatest trip of my life.
Yeah.
And I've told people that as I've gotten older, and the feedback I've got from it's been more almost negative. Like, man, why would you limit yourself? And then also, isn't that depressing to think? And I'm like, no, I saw it as a blessing. I was 19, 20 years old, and I'm on this trip that it's like, I don't know that a trip would ever, just because of what I saw, I don't know if it would ever be able to be topped. And then I've been to Europe multiple times since then.
Hmm.
I've done some pretty amazing things with life. That trip, nothing's come close to it,
Oh
like
yeah.
even remotely close to it. But I'm blessed to have that because I was telling someone recently, I've got some neighbors here. I kind of live out in the country in North Carolina.
Mhm.
I've got multiple neighbors that have never been on an airplane.
Oh yeah.
They've probably not left, and I don't know for sure, but I get the vibe from some conversations. I don't think they've left a multiple state area here. I've driven across the country. I've lived across the
Yeah.
country. I've flown 100 times probably back and forth over the years
Yeah.
between the coasts. Um, I realize how blessed I've been, and
Yeah.
I sometimes take that for granted. But also, uh, it's never satisfied me. I want when is the next trip?
Next one.
Like with anything
Oh
in
yeah.
life.
That's interesting. You mentioned Martin Luther and the Reformation. So my wife is German, and her hometown Coburg has a Festum. It's a fortress up on a
Hmm.
hill. And we got married in Fort Knox, but we did our wedding vows in Germany when I was stationed there.
Okay.
And we got married in the Martin Luther Capella
Wow.
in Coburg at the festival because that's where he hid out writing part of the Protestant Bible during
Yeah.
the Reformation. So we hung out there, and that. And now you talk about journals and diaries and stuff. So what I didn't do for 104 is I didn't read any because every soldier in World War I was given a diary because they thought that was a way
Hmm.
to relieve the stress of combat.
Yes.
So, but I didn't read any of the diaries and I didn't read any of the letters from soldiers.
Mm.
I wanted this to be
Hmm.
his diary.
Yeah.
Now, when you
100%.
ask, who is he? I don't know.
Hmm.
I have a main character that has no attributes. All I
Right.
know, and all you'll ever find out, he's a man married and has a son.
Hmm.
That's it. You don't know if he's left-handed, if he's right-handed, if he's
Yeah.
tall, if he's short, if he's dark, is he blue-eyed? Nothing. Because I had to maintain that mystique,
Hmm.
or really, I had to honor the soldier that is buried in the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Yeah.
I had to maintain. There's no way I could ever get all I wanted to do was be able to. So if somebody when somebody reads the book and they go, well, who is that soldier in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, right? Who is that?
Hmm.
They read the book. This person has the characteristics of that soldier:
Hmm.
God fearing, leader, loves his men, loves his country, knows what he's doing is right, is brave. That that's so I didn't want to write. I didn't want to read anybody's diary, anybody's letters. I want it totally
Hmm.
off of some history that I read of the first expeditionary unit uh,
Gotcha.
to 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 go with that. And
Yeah.
then I had a historian check. So what's historical correct is historically
Wow.
correct.
That's awesome.
What's fiction is fiction.
Hmm.
So I just thought that was important to that, the aspect of writing the book.
I thought of you because I took my kids up for about as we're filming this, it was about a month
Mm-hmm.
ago. It was for spring break, and we were in DC for only about 2 full days. My son ended up
Mm-hmm.
getting sick the first day, so that was kind of a wash. So we had one day to
Yep.
kind of cram in what I in my brain had planned for 2 days. Like we even had like a private tour of the Capitol that I had to cancel
Oh,
last minute.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I like a congressional
Be
aide that was.
careful of that. They might
What's that?
be careful of that. You'll be a March 6er or something, April 6er.
No, but it was. I want to take the kids back, but one of the
Oh,
things that
yeah.
was on my list to do was because I had already read one of four. Was I've been there multiple times. I've been
Yeah.
fortunate. I lived in Richmond for how many years? Did I live in Richmond? 4 years, 5 years, 4 years? I don't know. I lived in Richmond earlier,
Yeah.
17, 18 years ago, and we'd go up to DC a lot, pretty frequently. I had an office up there in
Mhm.
Fairfax, Springfield, places we'd go. So
Oh, yeah. My son lives in Manassas.
yeah, I know the area. I went up there every couple of weeks, and then sometimes we went up to see some of the sites. I did July 4th fireworks. Been in the White House 3 times. I've been fortunate, been able to see a lot of stuff. But my kids haven't. So I was like, man, I want them to see the unknown soldier on Tomb of the Unknown. Um, we hit that part of that second day there, the only really full day, and I
Yeah.
tried to get my daughter to go. I was like, honey, we were parked at the Springfield station, so we had to go through
Yeah.
Arlington with the sub on the with the blue
Oh,
line,
yeah.
whatever. I'm like, honey, if we just get off, she's shaking her head. I'm like, could we just get off and just like look at the cemetery so your brother can see it? She's like, Daddy, I'm just so tired. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we're gonna have to come up for a
You got
weekend at
it's
some
amazing.
point. Yeah.
It's actually I was there last weekend, mid-April, and I actually dropped the book off at the public affairs office for the Third Infantry Old Guard
Yeah, I saw your
because I
post.
do dedicate the book to the Sentinels
Right.
that guard the tomb, and also the historian Paul that helped me, and my family, because every time I'd see my family, it's like, did you know in World War One? Did you know? Like, oh no, I don't want to know anything else about World War One.
I even
But
have the I have a reference in my book that comes out next in June, Breach of
mm,
Trust. I have got a reference to Arlington as well.
yeah.
There's a part of the end of the story takes place there.
Oh, awesome.
It's just it's the most somber place you're going to visit, really, or one of the most somber
Oh,
ones
yeah.
in the United States. But it's powerful. It's
Hmm.
powerful when you see, and then that's where I think you really, as an American, you should really get a better appreciation of what sacrifice actually is. And for most people, I do finance by day. What most people's day-to-day jobs are, unless they're a first responder
Mm,
dealing in the hospital or police or fire, they don't encounter death that much. And
hmm.
the loss you don't see if you work at
Yeah.
wherever, Lowe's, or I work for a finance company, whatever it might be.
Right.
You don't normally experience that. But for soldiers,
Hmm.
it's unfortunately part of the job that
Hmm.
going into it that there's a probability some of the people you serve with, especially in the last 20 years, and then of course you
Hmm.
look back at the world wars,
Yeah.
people were going to die, and it's
Yeah.
that part of life that is extremely difficult to
Hmm.
process until you actually experience it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. And that's and I tell folks is one of four is not a war book. It's a book about war.
Yeah.
It's a book about the human condition of the soldiers that go to war. It's
Hmm.
about the people that live through the war from the area that the war is being fought in. And it's also from the perspective of the people that when the soldier comes back home, what they experience.
Right.
It's, and I wanted to incorporate that uh, in the entire in the book. I mean, it's got some graphic, battle scenes. They have to be graphic. It has
Hmm.
a lot of deep thought
Yeah.
by the soldier. You could see him transition from a soldier to an NCO to be able to lead men. You
Hmm.
know, he prays. Can he lead? Can he can he be the leader these men need?
Right.
Uh, and so to me it's a very emotional, personal book for me, and
Hmm.
I can't explain it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it is. So
Well,
I loved writing it, um, and it's just something that I felt compelled to do.
the layer you added to it, which I thought was quite intriguing and done so well, was the father-son
Mhm.
component, where,
That was my son's idea. That was my
yeah,
son's
okay.
idea.
Well, kudos to your son. So kudos to your son. But
Yeah.
but so you're not just having a journey of this
Mhm.
soldier who you don't know who it is, but you're having this father and son journey retracing really
Mhm.
what occurred. So one of the questions I had for you is, have you been yourself to many of those places in France that you write about?
No, I have not. I
Have
did
not.
a
Okay.
lot of the research on there. That is something that I want to do. Wife and I are talking about doing that next summer
Okay.
because, and you make a good point. So if somebody picks up and reads one of four, they could actually do what Alex and Walter did, the father
Hmm.
son. They could actually retrace that, the
Yeah.
whole thing. Um, so yeah, and then just reading about Mouzargan cemetery, where they trained, where they fought,
Hmm.
is very very interesting.
Now, is it your son that lives in Northern Virginia?
Mhm.
Okay. Is it
Yeah.
something that maybe you can do with him at some point, or would he be willing to
Oh
go with
yeah,
you?
oh yeah. I mean,
Okay.
he's almost 27. He's Vietnam or not Vietnam. He's a veteran, combat veteran. So yeah, so something that we probably will want to do. I think first when he turns 30, I think we're going to go on a whiskey tour of Scotland.
There you go.
So yeah, so and I wanted to write. The last few years, my dad was, he from Arkansas, quit high school, but you could ask him anything about World War II and he could tell you. He was
Hmm.
like a World War II historian.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot about written about World War II and Vietnam. Not much of Korea, which is
Hmm.
sad in itself. And then some, not a lot about World War One, but more than Korea and probably I don't think Vietnam though. So I wanted to write something in that time period. And the hardest thing is to make sure that when you talk about that time period, that everything you write about is historically time period correct.
Right.
The
Exactly.
weapons, uh, everything. And World War One was the first major conflict where one, United States soldiers went to Europe and fought. That's
Hmm.
that. Two is modern warfare,
Yeah.
airplane, tank, machine gun, gas,
Gas. Yeah.
accurate artillery.
Right.
And then there also is look at the players in World War One. Eisenhower, Patton, Truman, Churchill, all these people, and look how they transition into World War Two.
Yeah. Into the leadership
So,
positions and stuff. Yeah.
exactly,
100%.
exactly, yeah. And it's amazing. And then look at
Yeah.
the how uh, the world was split up.
Right.
Right? Look what Germany basically declared World War II because they thought that they were getting ripped off by World War One, the armistice. Right?
Hmm.
And the lookout of the Middle East was drawn up. Who took what?
Yeah.
Who won? Germany had a lot of Africa at the time, but they lost it after World War One
Hmm.
because they lost. Yeah,
And then, I mean,
it's very interesting.
we thought I thought growing up there probably would be, growing up in the 80s, and especially earlier before that during the
Mm,
Cold War, really, because but that was the tail end really of the
mm.
Cold War coming up. But we thought World War III would be dealing with the Soviet Union. That's where the next battle would be. And then what is it? Einstein or whatever said, he didn't know what was the weapons that would be used for World War III, but World War IV would basically be, like sticks and, basically rudimentary forms
We put ourselves back in the caveman.
because we blasted ourselves to
Yeah,
oblivion,
yeah.
which We haven't so far as the time of filming this, at
Thank
least.
God.
So, and if we have, by the time you get to see this, you won't see it
Oh,
anyways.
yeah, that would be terrible. You have to
No, but
catch it on whatever they call it after YouTube or whatever.
yeah, yeah, whatever. I mean, well, I think we'll be back to chisels.
Oh, yeah. Be like the
Someone will be
Flintstones.
typing. I'll
So,
pay
folks,
someone to
if you
like
don't know the
document
Flintstones,
this.
look it up and watch an episode of the Flintstones. It's a fantastic cartoon.
Once I know. And it's not something to joke about, but at the same time, you almost, I don't know, when you start paying attention to the global affairs, I think you have to laugh or cry. So I think sometimes humor is a good medicine
I don't
for
know.
what everyone's
I mean,
doing.
I joined the Army in 1976. The Cold War was hot and heavy.
Yeah,
I patrolled the East-West German border, the Czechoslovakian West German border. So, I saw the Cold War up
firsthand.
close and
Yeah,
personal.
100%.
And it definitely had an effect on me when you can see night and day how West Germany at the time was rebuilt by the Marshall Plan,
Hmm.
50s, 60s, 70s. East Germany was never. Russia put more money into the military. East German army was very formidable, no doubt about it.
Right.
Um, but they put more money that not into the infrastructure of East Germany.
Hmm.
And I can see that looking across, the barren land or across through the fence or in Sonnenberg and all these other places. And then when the wall came down or the fence, the end of the reunification of East and West Germany, I went over and it was like watching a colored TV and then going to black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the smells, because they're burning brown coal, which is just terrible. They had Trabants, which are two-stroke car motors in a car. Those those were terrible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so you can see the repercussions of, you know, World War II, and
Yeah.
Patton wanted to keep on going, but they wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
Stopped at the Elbe River, basically,
Right.
and said, "We're done." Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. What was so let's flip back real quick though, because you were in the middle of writing your third book. And so it
Mhm.
was what made you narrow it down to choosing that story? Or did it just really come to you something that you saw or something that came to your head or
It just came.
it just
The
came? Okay.
first My first thought, okay, I wanted to, was okay, a diary is found in a chest, right?
Hmm.
And they start reading it. But that and then my son said, "Oh, you ought to have, a strange father and son." I go, "That's fantastic."
Hmm.
So I just want to incorporate that
Yeah.
because I wanted to give it the element of how the past can affect the present,
Yeah, 100%.
which in turn is going to affect Alex, who's the son, will the future,
Hmm.
and how by reading a diary that's over 100 years old, he starts to understand his father, who's a combat veteran,
Hmm.
and why does he do the things he did? Why did him and his mom get divorced?
Right.
And his dad opens up. Never ever before,
Never before. Yeah.
but because that they were in that, I guess in that time and space, right?
Hmm.
It was perfect,
Hmm.
perfect, and there's a lot of emotions in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Soldiers, there's a lot of emotion.
Right.
You know how he never killed anybody.
Hmm.
He never. But and when the American Army, the first Expeditionary Force landed in June 26, 1917, they were made up of units from all different posts along the Mexican, U.S. Mexican border and some other places, right? Other posts and forts,
Hmm.
and they were not ready for combat. So
Yeah.
there was really a ramp up because of combat, because it was trench warfare.
Right.
And I go into trench warfare. It's terrible,
Hmm.
terrible, terrible. So but again, and I have to, and folks would say, "Oh, this, it'd be a great movie." I say, "Yeah, but it has to almost be a first person movie when you talk about the soldier. You can't see him. He has
Yeah.
to he has to maintain that mystic, that
Right.
mis that
Yeah.
unknown.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I put a lot of the things in it the way that's in it, and how the Bible, how the diary was found, what
Hmm.
happened to the person that found it,
Right.
and the book starts off with historically correct how they chose that one of four. There was four unknown soldiers exhumed from the four World War I cemeteries in France in October 1921.
Hmm.
That they were all placed. First, they were select. They had to make sure that they're American soldiers based on the uniform. They died combat by combat wounds, right? And
Hmm.
they were unidentified based on the forensic ability of 1921.
Right.
Then they were all each one was placed in identical coffins and identical shipping containers. They were then taken to a town in France, laid in state, and Sergeant Younger. First, they were going to have like a general or somebody select them, but I think Blackjack Pershing said no. We're gonna have a soldier,
Hmm.
you know, selected. And Sergeant Younger, he was got the Distinguished Service Cross, second highest medal award you can be given in the military,
Hmm.
and he was chosen. He had gotten out of the army, he re-enlisted the next day, and was stationed in Germany as occupying force. He was then chosen to uh, select the casket, the soldier.
Hmm.
He was given a spray of white roses from a French father who lost two of his sons in World War One.
Hmm.
He walked around the casket several times and later laid those spray of roses on that casket. Those three that were not selected, so that one, he's the one, the three were not selected, were put in the Mousargon cemetery.
Hmm.
And the four, the one went through France all the way and got on the USS Olympia to Washington, D.C., where he, by the third cavalry, not the time they didn't have third infantry regiment,
Hmm.
was laid in state at the Rotunda. And then on November 11th, 1921, he was buried in what was now the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier that did not have the crypt on top of it.
Gotcha.
So I had to make sure that, and that's how the book kind of starts.
Hmm. Yeah. How long did it take you for research? Or did it spread over a long
Ongoing.
period of time or?
I started the book in mid-November.
Okay. So that's
Uh,
pretty quick,
pretty quick. It
but it was
came,
probably very consuming. It
yes.
was what you worked
Oh
on.
yeah, but it came again. I felt compelled.
Gotcha.
There's a story I think that had to get out.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I just stopped and boom, and research along the way.
Hmm.
And the thing, I learned something. Actually, uh, the next book I'm going to start is something that I read about while doing research for
While
this
doing
book,
this, yeah.
because I was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Two things I didn't know. I mean, many things I didn't know.
Hmm.
But yeah.
That's the cool thing about the journey of writing is you don't know what's going
Mm.
to spurn your next idea.
Yeah.
And I know some people do labor over books for a long period of time, but I've experienced it and I've talked to other authors that have done exactly what you did is man, it came to them quickly, and they were able to get it out within a
Mhm.
very reasonable period of time. It wasn't a year's process or anything like that. So yeah, I love that. I love that part, and I love the excitement you've shared for it because, like I've said earlier, when it means something to you,
Mhm.
there's a much greater chance of it meaning something to the audience.
Yep.
And especially the fact of what you've done with incorporating what really occurred over there. Because I've
Mhm.
not been, we talked a little bit offline about it too, but I've been over. Well, we didn't talk about that part, I guess, but I've been over to France, but I've not
Mhm.
been to any of the World War One, World War Two, any of the
Mhm.
cemeteries. We were actually going. We came in through Germany. I've only been to France once. It was on that trip
Mhm.
in college, and we came in from Germany. I think the Black Forest, and we actually stopped in. The U.S. people always call it Rems, but I think it's Roms is what's
Mhm.
actually how you pronounce it. And I remember it was a long bus ride, and we get to the hotel, and I just always wanted to go explore. Some people be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a nap or whatever." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Screw that. I'll
I'm
probably never
out.
get to this city again." So we just got out of the hotel and just started, you didn't have cell phones back then, or at least not the
Mm.
version we have now. You didn't have
Yeah.
GPS, any of that crap. You just walked around. Hopefully didn't
Hmm.
get like, killed anywhere. But
Yeah.
no, Europe, you're
Yeah.
pretty
It's pretty
safe
pretty tame.
most places.
Yeah.
So we're walking through the city, and all of a sudden we came across this crowd, and we didn't know what was happening, but all these people were lined up on the side of the road, and you can tell it was some kind of a parade of some sort.
Mm.
So three of us climbed up on this windowsill, and I have a picture of it in one of my scrapbooks, actually. Three of us climbed up on this windowsill, and here comes through the main part. Well, it was a parade for Joan of Arc, actually.
Oh,
It's I
wow.
think a yearly parade they do, maybe.
Yeah.
We're there. So, but again, I was a history guy. So to me, I was like, now
That's pretty cool.
this is cool. This is
Right.
pretty amazing. So, and then from there we went on to Paris, and then we saw most of
Mhm.
the touristy stuff in Paris. But
Right.
Versailles, we saw Versailles,
Mhm.
where of course, the treaty was signed, and the Hall of Mirrors. And again, it was one of those things of I want to go back now. I'd love to take my kids back at some point
Mhm.
because I appreciate it more. At the time, I don't think I appreciated it as much as I could have.
Mhm.
Also, by that part of the trip, we're already like 2.5 weeks in, and
You're
it
ready.
well, and because it was a Reformation history tour, every city we're stopping in, there was some religious reference.
Hmm.
So we were going in the Duomo or the cathedrals or
Yep.
whatever. Which I did appreciate, but I will say by the time we hit London, I was just like Charles Spurgeon's church, I could care less.
They already cooked you. They
Great.
already cooked you.
So, but like Notre Dame, I saw Notre Dame, and of course, then years later with the fire, I was actually at work when it was happening, and I left the TV in my office, and I flip on TV, and I'm just like, holy, it's been a few years, but I've been there.
Yeah,
I
that's
went and
pretty
stood out in the
cool.
middle of the street to get the picture from like the geographic
Yep.
center of Paris, where you're going to get, run over if you stand out in the road. And, but
Like
just
Rome.
a great
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I agree. I agree. I love the travel. I've lived in Germany 9 years. I lived in Spain 3 years. I've been over the United States
Mm.
because I do definitely like to travel. And again, you go back to have I ever met a stranger? No. And the reason is because my dad was in the Air Force and we moved every 3 years. So what that teaches you,
You better make friends.
make friends.
Yeah,
And so I am, I'm uh, a lot of authors or introverts, right? They don't,
by
I
nature.
am not.
Yeah,
I am
me
an
neither.
extrovert. I will go, I'll go up and just talk to anybody. And, and I can, I remember one time I'd worked for a company called EDS, and I was a consultant doing network consulting and things like
Mm.
that, and Microsoft technologies. And they put me up for a project, and they're like, so she says, what college did you graduate? I go, I quit high school. I didn't graduate high school. I didn't graduate college.
The school of hard knocks.
I said, you can ask me anything because I watch a lot of TV. I mean, I got the thing because I was quite good at what I did from a Microsoft perspective and the product
Right.
that I worked with. So yeah, so you again, I mean, I probably have a lot of useless knowledge, but
Hmm.
it's
I
it's
think we
kind of
all do.
it's kind of fun when you guys talk about stuff. As a matter of fact, so I went to the National Museum of the U.S. Army, did
Hmm.
some research for the book in October last year
Okay.
or November, January. Let's visit our son, and there was a father and son, and they're kind of broken up into time periods. One of them periods World War One,
Mm.
and there's a father and son, and there's a picture on the wall of Sergeant Younger and the four Sergeant Younger story, but the four caskets, right?
Okay.
And I walked up and I asked the little boy, I said, "Do you want to know the story?
Hmm.
You want a story about Sergeant Younger?" Because it didn't have.
Didn't
I
have
said, "Let me
much
tell you the
there.
story. Let me tell you the
Yeah.
story of Sergeant Younger and what that picture means."
Hmm.
And I could see the kid was, even the father was like, the backstory, right? I provide the backstory
Right.
of what, and that just kind of felt, good. But again, I didn't know these people, not to talk to them. So
And they were no longer strangers. And
They were no
hey,
longer strangers.
you don't know. It could have been that kid was like, whatever, creepy old man. I don't care. But you don't know. He might
Yeah,
that story might resonate with him, and maybe he'll read something one day, or maybe you don't know. He might be the next great writer. And that spurned from a
yeah.
story you told him. Maybe he found a love. To me, that's the most powerful thing about what we
Mhm.
do is we get to share stories and we get to create things, but we get to give stuff to other people,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
it's through family and friends, whether it's through people purchasing our books or giving away free books.
Hmm.
We're able to impart a story to people. And I've talked about this in other podcasts. You know, for the most part, in this life, when you're gone, you're gone. So if you were a retail manager at a store,
Hmm.
you provided for your family, you maybe had a
Yep.
great life, but we'll just say Walmart. You're a retail manager of Walmart.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with that, but we'll just say that for example. Well, once you're done, who's going to be like, oh, Eric Bishop was the retail manager at Walmart? Yeah,
Right.
no one knows who you are. Your family will stop talking about you within
Couple generations.
maybe weeks, maybe months,
Yeah.
but hopefully not. But yeah, within a couple
Yeah.
generations, it'd be Grandpa Eric might be discussed. Well, for us, for what we've been able to do, Travis, we'll hopefully still have, whether it's digital or physical, we'll have books there that are hopefully on a
Hmm.
shelf or a family member shelf. They can say, hey, grandpa or great grandpa wrote that book.
Yeah.
And we're leaving behind something that is an imprint of something we wanted to tell and
Hmm.
stories we wanted to share. Um, Man, that's power.
Oh yeah.
That to me is one of the coolest parts of this is the stories I get to tell and I'm privileged to put out there will more than likely outlive me by a long period of time. How cool
Oh
is
yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I got out of the army, I interviewed for a job, and she told, "Okay, come back next week. Irma's going to be in town, and she wants to meet you." I was
that?
like,
Hmm.
"Okay." So, the day I was supposed to meet her, I went down and got, I don't like to be late. Uh, that's from the army. I was a scout. You're
Army
not late. You're
punctuality right there,
not
baby.
late as a scout. You have a time to go past the line of departure, the LD. So, uh, I was standing there, and there's a couple people, this one woman, and everything. I start talking, and the elevator opens. My parents raised me to go in first.
Hmm.
I let the women in first, right? I went in last. So we're sitting in the elevator, you know, punch all the buttons, whatever. And I start talking to her, just common, just hello, ma'am, yes, ma'am, whatever.
Hmm.
Get to the floor that I had to do the interview on, and she gets out too. She goes to the right, I go to the left. So I go and I say, hey, I'm here. Oh yeah, Irma just got here. She wants to ready to talk to you. So I walk in to that room, and the lady in the elevator is Irma.
Hmm.
She said, "You're hired." She
Wow.
didn't even interview me,
Didn't even interview
because she said you were a gentleman
you. Hmm.
and you're very personable, and
Yeah.
you're a gentleman. I'm like, this might work.
Well, first impressions matter
Yeah,
in life.
that's why the cover is so important for a book, and so that's why one of four is just an awesome cover.
Yeah, when you sent me that months ago now, I guess
Yes,
back,
months ago.
man, I was like, nailed it, because visually, that at least for me, and kind of speak for
Mhm.
myself, that opens up so specific of an idea of what this is going to be about.
Yeah,
There's no mystery on that. I'm not going, wow, wonder what's going to happen here.
yeah,
No, I'm already interested by just seeing. And I mean, we know we've had a lot of conversations
yeah,
offline. Covers sell books.
yeah,
You can have the best written story in the world, but if I designed your cover on Canva or
yeah.
Adobe or whatever, you're probably not going to sell many books.
Right.
But you get someone that knows how to design a good cover, and you could have 500,000 misspelled words in that massive volume.
Mhm.
And some people will buy it based on the cover. Then you'll get ridiculed when they start
Then you get
realizing
hit pretty
you
hard.
can't speak the English language. But
Yeah.
that's why, what do we also do? We hire editors.
Editors. We hire editors. I have a saying, right? People hired me to do certain things because they didn't couldn't do it or
Right.
wanted somebody. I hire people that are experts in what they do
Yep.
because I know I can't,
Yeah.
nor do
100%.
I want, I don't have the time to learn. But I mean, you turned me on to a lot of the folks that actually helped, get this book
Hmm.
from a manuscript out to, May 1st,
Yeah.
out and about in the world. So that, again, I appreciate what you've done and when you get back to the community, and it is a community of writers
Yep.
and authors and everybody. It is a very, and trust me, it's not hard to get into the community.
No.
We're all pretty like, oh yeah, do this. I'm helping somebody. My old platoon leader who retired as a colonel from the army a few years ago. It's like I talked to him like I just saw him yesterday. It's
Hmm.
amazing. My wife we talked on the phone the other day driving to Arkansas. My wife says, "How long do you guys talk?" You know, like we talk about anything. But one of his guys, the specialist that he knew, wanted to write a book. So I've been helping him,
That's awesome.
right? Turn him on to Jonas, right? From an
Hmm.
editor perspective. So I want to give back. It's a very reciprocal.
Yeah.
The community is very reciprocal.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I've discussed in another podcast too. That's the thing that surprised me because
Me too.
I wrote in 2014 the first novel, and I didn't really start getting involved in the community probably till 16, 15 or
Mhm.
16. That first year I didn't know what I was doing. I was just writing a story and I was expecting riches and fame and
Oh
glory
yeah,
and all the
I
stuff
had I
that
had that look in my eye too.
yeah, that still hasn't come 10 years later. Um, but I'm talking to Travis Davis on Zoom. So, hey, this is pretty
There
damn
you
good.
go.
So,
You're,
but no, I
I don't
just
know if you're moving up. To be honest, you may be lateral right now, or maybe a little.
don't listen to what he's saying, folks. I'm moving on out. No, no, but well, it's an amazing thing of once you get started, if you stick with it,
Mhm.
I mean, you can shoot yourself in the foot, or you can just do it and realize, man, this isn't for me. But once you get started, you're gonna
Yeah.
fall down. You're gonna learn a lot of lessons. You're gonna maybe write a bunch of books that can't be published.
Mhm.
Um, my first three books I viewed as an apprenticeship
Right.
because I thought when I wrote the first one that was it. I was on,
Yeah.
I was going to get what I thought I deserved or whatever ridiculous thoughts I had 10
Yeah.
years ago. No, in the reality, I was an idiot who did not know what he was doing. Could I tell a story? Yes.
Yes.
Um, did that story need to go out to the world? No. I mean,
Mhm.
just it had a lot of issues and it needed, it needed what I do now. It needed
A lot of
experience.
polishing.
It
Yeah.
needed a lot of polishing, and then it needed professionals to step
Yeah.
in. As we're filming this, Breach of Trust is with Jonas, and I should get it back this week. In the meantime, I'm working on my end of 2024 release, something I wrote a while back that I've not dived into with this other
Mhm.
books coming up, this year and even
Mhm.
last year, what I did. So I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, and I told myself reading it this last week, okay, I'm not going to edit. I'm just going to read it, get refamiliar with the story, and I need
Mhm.
to add about 10,000 words and I need to switch some things around. I
Yeah.
already have an idea what I need to do. Oh, yeah. I was sitting there on a mountaintop today with my laptop going, oh, we need to fix this. Oh, we need to fix that. And, I got through like 10 pages in an
Yeah.
hour and I'm like, well, that's not working.
Right.
I
Yeah.
need to just read
Yep.
this thing.
Yeah. You got to, yeah, you continually. My first two were uh, the same. I think it was an apprenticeship to be able to do what I did with 104,
Yeah.
even though it's a totally different genre, a totally different
Hmm.
uh, arena, different crowd, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, either to me, they were good stories, but they needed more polishing.
Hmm. Well, that's the other thing I love about it. And I love that you're branching out because at least when I got started doing this and seeing people in the industry, a lot of times people will do one genre and that's their career and they don't
Mhm.
step out of that genre. And maybe that's the smarter way to do it. Maybe that's the way you become financially successful.
Right.
But to me, man, I enjoy the Body Man series. I will tell anyone right now, are there going to be 20 Body Man books? I don't believe so.
Mhm.
Unless someone buys those rights and we got a Netflix series going.
Mm.
and I'm in Fiji writing book 7 and book 8 and book 9. I'm
Right.
I'm in New Zealand, and
Right.
maybe if the bricks armor truck is big enough, I'll keep writing them. But no,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think my passion for it is going to waver, and I want to tell other stories, and I want to also tell other genre of
Hmm.
stories.
Hmm.
I'm working on a horror related thing now in my spare time. Not as quick on it as I should be.
Yeah.
Um, that's nothing I would have thought I would have written 5 years ago. Well,
Right.
there I am. It might not be very good,
Yeah.
but that's okay because that's
Yeah. As you branch out,
I'm
you learn new things, new
branching out into.
techniques, way to research and things.
I forget if you've had him on or not, but I know you know David Darling. Have you had
Hmm.
him on the podcast?
Yep.
Yours?
Yep.
Okay. Apologize, I haven't seen that one then. David to me is a great example, and he's one of those ones that has given so much to me personally and
Hmm.
helped me as he's struggled and figured things
Right.
out. And when I've asked him a question, he goes, "Oh, do this, this, and this," and I'm like, "Well, where did you find that?" He goes, "Oh, I had to mess up a bunch to figure that out."
Yep.
Willingly given. So I got a book from him a couple days ago. His next book that's
I
coming
have,
out the end of the year.
yes, I have that too.
You have it,
I'm going to
okay?
read it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah. I can't wait to dig in. I'll probably
Yeah.
dig in about 2 or 3 weeks from now. I'll probably have to
Yep.
get breach of trust out the
You got to get
door.
it out the door. Yeah. Right now, I'm
Um,
just 100% focused on 104 and the marketing campaign and, the book launch and
yeah.
uh, just, and when you do it yourself, it's very fulfilling.
hmm
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You are every piece.
Yeah.
And you outsource things, as we both have talked about offline. We're outsourcing our editing and
Mm.
our cover design and all that, but you're still the central glue that has to make everything come together.
Yep.
And I've been open with it in the past. It's not anything I ever thought I was going to do. And
Oh my God, no.
I had some
Yeah,
very
but
successful authors 7 or 8 years ago when I wasn't getting the Body Man, or not seven
mm,
or eight, but it was probably after my third book I was trying to get. It was before the Body Man. They basically said, "Well, why don't you switch gears and just self-publish some of your earlier stuff?" And I'm like, I don't want to be a publisher. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I was
mm.
married at the time, and my ex would not have been too keen if I said, "Hey, I gotta go drop some G's on this, this, and this."
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It wouldn't have gone over very well. Um, it took, though, going through the experiences I went through to get to a place and also learning a lot
Mm.
that I'm willing to do that now, knowing full well that I'm not going to be able to write as much because I have to have my marketing hat on. And I don't think we've
Exactly.
talked, we'll have to talk offline about some
Yeah.
marketing ideas that I've
Yeah.
learned working with other authors last couple months that really do work. You got to invest, but you can make your money back if you do it
Yeah.
right and then some. Again, those are things that a couple years ago I knew nothing about and I didn't want
Exactly.
to know anything
Mm.
about, but I want my books to be read. And,
Mm.
anyone that's listening to this, if you think you're going to publish a book and go on a couple podcasts and put some social media posts out there and you're going to just see sales continue to grow or whatever, you will not.
You
You'll
will
get a
not.
bump at first because hopefully friends, family,
Yeah.
interested
We'll
people
buy your book.
will buy your
Yep.
book. Those will drop pretty quickly though.
Yep.
I think the rule of thumb, even for like very big, well-known authors, is they sell the majority of their books in the first 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
They do sell after that, but that's where the bulk of your sales comes,
Mm.
which is probably pretty true. I've had a resurgence with the Body Man this year.
Because you have another book coming out, so that makes people want to go back.
Correct. Also, and the thing that's helped me a lot too is for a good solid year with the Body Man, I did not do any. I marketed on social media, and I'm
Mm.
sure that helped sell a few copies, but I wasn't paying a dime to do any marketing. I
Right.
don't know that the publisher was, maybe, but I wasn't aware of it. So the sales weren't there. Well, now for me to, have the second edition come out, have the new cover, and do the
Yeah.
promotion is, yeah, I'm paying for marketing. It's
Yeah.
working. I'm selling
Yeah.
a very generous amount of copies. But if I stopped doing the marketing,
We'll try
you
it.
know, I might
Yeah.
get a sale here and there from word of mouth or Amazon. Um, I was fortunate. I posted about it last week or whatever. This will be a month after this airs, but where I hit 500 ratings on Amazon,
That's significant.
which is a big deal. And I don't play that down that it's not a big deal, and that's on
Yep.
the
Oh, it's
readers, not on
significant.
me.
Right.
Um, Very fortunate that that happens. However, and that's not a negative, but does getting 500 mean all of a sudden Amazon's going to dump all this free marketing and sell your book for you? No, you might
Mm-mm.
show up more often. But it's just another step in the process is what it becomes. And
Yep.
I don't know if I'll ever get any other books that hit 500. Who knows?
Hmm.
That's the plan though. You
Yep.
always want to get better, you always want to improve as a writer, and hopefully if you want to make it financially
Mhm.
viable, um you got to sell more
Yep. You
books.
got to invest some too. Yep.
Yeah.
Time, energy, money.
So, 1 and 4 will be out by the time this airs, of course. It's
Mhm.
coming out May 1st.
May 1st.
May 1st. Okay. Um, where are we going next? What's up next, Travis? It's always the next thing. So where are we headed?
I
In
believe I'm going to write another World War One historical fiction, but it's
historical
more
fiction. Okay.
of espionage thriller
Okay.
type book.
Awesome.
I'm trying
You're
to put some events in line that
nice.
could play in line.
You're following what you're passionate about, and at the end of the days, that's really an important thing in life.
Yeah.
Life's short, and too often people don't follow their passions. They give
Yep.
up, or for whatever reason, or they don't have
Yep.
the resources to do certain things. And I think to follow something you're passionate about, A, brings you joy, and B, when you have joy inside of you, other people pick up on that.
Yep. Yeah. Agree. Agree.
So
They'll when they read 104, they will see into my psyche.
yeah, little piece of your soul is in that book, my
That's right.
friend.
That's in there.
Yeah, there might be a lot of piece of it,
There's
and they're not
like
just a
quite a few
little.
pieces,
So,
I think.
how about the podcast? You got some, or keep going with that, or
Oh yeah, I'm keep going. I've got
okay,
probably a month and a half worth I got to publish, and I got to keep
okay.
continue. I reach out continually, get people on there, people that nobody ever knows or will know, and people that maybe they know and they've read their books. So
Hmm.
I'm a if you want to be on the podcast, you wrote a book, let's get on the podcast. I don't care
Yeah,
what you've written,
right.
you know, but as long as it's not, there's some things I won't talk about or have people on, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I understand completely. So yeah, I'm the same. I've tried to reach out outside of authors, and so far I've definitely hit some no's on people saying, nah, I'm not interested.
Mm,
Because part of what doing this was I wanted to get creatively how people write things, but not just how they write a book.
mm,
How do people write comedy? How do people write a play? How
mm.
do people write songs? And
Right.
I've got a few things that will work out here in a few months, but it's kind of been difficult
Mm.
to fill in, like find people. And I
Oh
get it,
yeah.
people, especially I've gone after some higher people up the totem pole. Are they
Hey,
that interesting?
if you don't, yeah, all they can say is no.
Yeah, no, 100%. They absolutely, and it doesn't. Anyone tells me no. I had someone tell me no about a month ago, and they're like, "Man, there's a lot of things going on in my personal life right now. I just can't do that." And I was like,
Cool.
"No more needs
Yep.
to be said.
Yep.
You take care of you, and take care of your situation."
Yep.
So. Well, awesome. Well,
Excellent.
I can't wait to hear what comes on next. So, um, I've always ended this with the same question, and
Hmm.
it's kind of a deep thing, I guess. But as we both know, life is like a book,
Hmm.
and I think you'd agree we have a first page and a last page.
Hmm.
You've just written a book that's a diary of a soldier who, his life was cut short, basically.
Hmm.
None of us know how many pages we have in that. So, but Travis, you are an author of 3 books now, and we're gonna
Hmm.
we're gonna keep adding. We got more hands, so
Hmm.
we're gonna keep adding to that in the coming years.
Hmm.
You have the ability and the gift. I've allowed you today with, not that I can allow anything, but
Hmm.
you get to write your last page of your book. What would you want that last page to say?
I think it is. He didn't leave anything undone that he didn't want to do.
I like it. There's no wrong answer. Whatever people
Yeah.
feel is what they want to leave. The amazing thing, like we talked about during this interview, is you're leaving a legacy behind
Yeah.
for kids and grandkids, and just com you don't know any strangers, But in case someone's a stranger out
Yeah.
there, they can meet Travis in their own way just by reading your books,
Yep.
and hopefully they will meet a story of a soldier in one of four.
Yep. Excellent. Yep. That's right.
Where can people go to find out more about you and pick up a copy of not just one of four, but also Flames of Deception or Cobalt?
Yeah. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble online, Books a Million online, my website, authortravisdavis.com. I'm out there on, Twitter or X or Facebook, uh, Instagram. So I'm all over. But yeah, any of those places.
I'm
You can get autographed signed copies of my books off my website.
I'm waiting for the TikTok page and you dancing, but apparently it's going to be illegal here soon.
No.
Well, Travis, thanks for coming on. I
Thank
was
you.
honored to get a advance peek of your book, and I look forward to what you will do next.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Travis.
Thanks. Bye bye.